Hello everybody and welcome back to Memory Gamma. Today we are going to be answering one of our commenters' requests for a look at a particular card. Not so much of a card, it's of an actor who played several different roles. Now, as anyone who is a Star Trek fan will know, there is obviously every series has its main cast. Some of those characters and some of those actors may have appeared in other roles in other series. Tim Russ as Tuvok appears as several different crew members throughout the Star Trek history before he becomes Tuvok. Duncan McNeil obviously plays Nicholas Locarno in The First Duty before becoming Tom Paris in Voyager. However, there is a very large collection of secondary characters and side actors who are here to play generally the monster of the week. Some of them have multiple roles, a couple of them turn up several times, and they have a variety. Tony Todd, for example, as Kern, also appears as several other people throughout his time. William Campbell, who is one of the Dahar Masters, Koloth, he also appears as Trelane, the Renegade Q in the original series. The two most prolific and well-known ones are Vaughn Armstrong, who plays Admiral Forrest, amongst others, and Jeffrey Combs. Now, Jeffrey Combs holds a distinction in Star Trek for being the only person to play two unrelated characters in the same episode. During Season 7 of Deep Space Nine, he plays both the Vorta Commander Weyoun and Brunt, the Liquidator Brunt, from the Ferengi Commerce Authority. The request has been for Jeffrey Combs. The commenter is a particular fan of Jeffrey Combs. The comment, I believe, also mentions his work as Herbert West Reanimator and other H.P. Lovecraft works. There isn't any cards for that in here, surprisingly. Jeffrey Combs has many different roles throughout Star Trek. However, the three that are the most well known are Liquidator Brunt, Weyoun, and Thylek Shran, the Andorian commander of the Kumari from Enterprise. So, because we're looking at the actor rather than any one particular character, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to bring up all the different versions of him, and we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of cards that work well with that particular version of the actor in his different roles. So, for a start, let's go with the Dominion. Let's put up Weyoun. So there are three Weyouns, going up in captain skill and going up in points. As obviously the Weyoun and all Vorta are clones, these are of course different Weyouns each time, as each one dies either in a transporter accident, kills himself to save Odo's life, gets killed by a marauding Jem'Hadar, or gets shot by Garrick or killed by Worf. Not in any particular order there, just various ways the Weyoun tends to end up getting dead. So, the way we have here is, what we're going to do is we're going to just put a generic ship. We're going to put Terok Nor. Weyoun serves aboard Terok Nor. And we're going to have a look at what he can do, and we'll build out from there. So, the first one is, at the start of the game, place 2 mission tokens on this card. As an action, you can spend a mission token to target a ship at range 1 to 3. They can't fire at you, you can't fire at all. So it's twice per game you can make one ship go, you're not firing at me. Now, in a one-on-one, this fundamentally is an action for attack cancellation. You can't attack them, you can't attack at all, they can't attack you. In a one-on-one situation, fine. If you've got more ships than the enemy, then it's still very good. However, with the ability of, you can't attack this round at all, what you're going to look for is you need things that either keep you alive when other people shoot at you, or things you can do that don't require attacking. Now, there's not an awful lot that do that. A lot of, especially the Jem'Hadar and the Dominion cards, are all about offense. However, he might be a good person of, if you've got him on a little support ship, you'd make that ship can't fire at you, and you can still use something like Victory is Life. You can discard the card, target this ship and all friendly Dominion ships at range 1, and they all get a Battle Stations token and an extra attack dice. Now, not going to affect you, but the battle stations token might help keep you alive from a different ship firing at you. But also, it's a non-action thing you can do to help out all your friends while you're keeping yourself alive. Other things you could do, Obsidian Order is obviously a nice shout. It just allows you to harvest their tokens, but obviously if you can't do anything with them, there's not a lot of point. You could, as I said, also things like Supreme Tribunal, Interrogation. This is very much a ganking ship, so ship meant for keeping yourself alive, so targeting their capital ship and going, right, you can't shoot me this round, so I'm safe from being obliterated, while I mess around and do other stuff. So things like anything that hands out Orcs power tokens via stuff like, actually, I will bring up another version very, very quickly. Actually, there is another version of Jeffrey Coombs, Brunt. At the start of the end phase, discard him to put an Orcs power token beside an enemy ship at range 1 to 3. That's brilliant. You can't attack that round, you've definitely survived, and it means you're able to get through the turn to be able to put an Orcs power token on the enemy ship. Also, I said, anything that messes with the enemy during the combat phase which doesn't involve you firing. So, said, Victory is Life or Supreme Tribunal, anything which is combat phase or end phase which helps mess with the opponent is a way to go with this Weyoun. Now, he's definitely not the best Weyoun, but there is definitely potential. He came along with an Admiral Ducat. They're both the ones that came with the Dominion battleship. So, our next Weyoun is very much a support or a bulking one. Add 2 additional crew upgrade slots to this ship's upgrade bar. If they're Dominion upgrades, they're a point cheaper. Brilliant. So it said on Terok Nor, for example, you've now got 4 crew slots, not 2 crew slots. And any Dominion upgrades, those 2 Dominion crew upgrades you put on are a point cheaper, enabling you to get just a little bit of a discount. So, I mean, he adds 2 slots. That's really nice. The fact that he then saves you a couple of points on those is better. So it comes out as 7 skill, 3 points for 2 bonus slots. 7 skill, 3 points with a talent slot for 2 bonus crew slots is actually really, really nice. And this is a much older card. That's almost a sort of a new power level. A new power level of cards. There are Captain's Leaders which are 7 skill, 3 points and do abilities which are really, really potent. This guy is an older card that has almost that same feel, because the effectiveness is, said he's 3 points with the 1 point discount for each crew upgrade. You're adding 2 crew slots, and you're getting 7 skill with a talent slot for an effective 3 points. Nothing wrong with that. And then you've got things like, you can put on really cheap crew upgrades, things like, you know, Bohica, Lomatukan, the Breenade. Another one you could bring, again, Gulbroker. 1 point crew upgrade, you discard him, target the ship, and all friendly ships get +1 attack dice. He's a single point. You could throw Shroud on, which allows you to discard Shroud instead of discarding a Dominion crew upgrade. So you can get multiple uses out of a 1 point crew upgrade that hands out bonus attack dice to everything Dominion at range 1 to 2. So this Weyoun is very much sort of like the middly ground Weyoun. He's really nice. He can be very effective, but he does need to be built out. If you just bring him along without using his ability, you're not getting anything in particular. 7 skill, 5 points is a bit much. 7 skill would normally be about the 4 point mark. The reason why he's 5 is because he gives you a discount. The final Weyoun is Weyoun, what we call Weyoun 6. Now you may disable Weyoun to prevent 1 crew upgrade being disabled or discarded this round. The important point there is it's a captain disable for a crew discard. So you can do a crew member which is action discard this crew to do something. And instead of discarding the crew, you can disable Weyoun. He is amazing in high cost fleet combos. Anything that involves you using really, really expensive crew upgrades. Anything, it could be, let's see, Kazon boarding parties, Klingon stealth teams, Nanklus. Anyone that is like a 4 or 5 point card that is action discard to do something amazing, or even just discard to do something amazing, you can then keep them around to be used multiple times. Now, you do disable Weyoun, which means that depending on when it activates, then while he's disabled, you're skill 1. So you do have to worry about the fact that you're going to be skill 1. It can be a, disable him. It could be a combat phase thing. Combat's already started. You discard a crew upgrade to get you a bonus, and then you disable Weyoun instead. You're still firing at the skill 6, and in the end phase you'll go down to a skill 1, which will then stay as a 1 for the next round because you won't be able to re-enable him immediately. However, that being said, there are ways of re-enabling him really quickly. A very, very sort of simple one is Kelvin McCoy. When a captain equipped to the ship would be disabled, put 3 time tokens on Leonard McCoy instead. Simple. You want to speed that up even more? Bring Esri Dax. Esri will make it only 2 time tokens on Leonard McCoy, which means you'll be able to use him 2 turns in a row, or every other round without having to worry about, waiting for recharge. So rather than having to action re-enable him, you could use him every other round just as it cycles, or you could let it cycle once and use him 2 turns back to back. Although on that second turn, since McCoy will have time tokens on him, you will have to obviously disable Weyoun in the end. There is many others. You could use Linalis, disable him to prevent your captain card being disabled this round. Just means you can then use Weyoun again. Beverly Crusher does the same. Anyone else like that. Lots of people that say when your captain's meant to be disabled or discarded, you can discard or disable this card instead. There's quite a few of those ways to save it, and it is possible to build a little combination where basically you can use Weyoun to save a crew upgrade every single turn. If you're going to do that, I mentioned him earlier, Nanklus is the best one, because you action Nanklus, instead of discarding him, you disable Weyoun. Instead of disabling Weyoun, you set your combo in line to be able to do it. Say, for example, it's Leonard McCoy, allowing you to, there we go, put time tokens on this card instead. You put Esri, there we go, then we just put Esri underneath there, and then we put McCoy next. And then all you need is T. There you go. So you would action Nanklus and disable Weyoun. Instead of disabling Weyoun, you put 2 time tokens on McCoy. In the end phase, you get 1 time token left. Then all you need is someone to give you a battle stations token, which you could get from somebody giving it to you. You could get it from a free action from a Fleet Commander Martok. It could be given to you from Obsidian Order. There's many ways you can get a battle stations token to trigger T to take the last time token off McCoy, so you can do it every single round. So that Weyoun is probably my favourite Weyoun, but the one I've seen probably the most use out of more recently would be the bonus 2 crew slots Weyoun, just because it gives you extra things to use. Now the Dominion have got some cheaper crew upgrades, extra slots with a discount is just amazing. So there are Weyouns. Next one we're going to have a look at is the Ferengi. Just again a random ship. Brunt, FCA. So this version of Brunt here is when he is being the Grand Nagus. So as an action, when defending this round, you may force the opposing ship to reroll one of their attack dice. Now, the wording is a bit convoluted. However, it's action when defending this round. It has the when defending trigger. So during the modify attack dice step, when you get attacked, you can make an enemy ship reroll 1 attack dice. And because it's when defending, it's every time you get attacked. You may also field the Grand Nagus Elite Talent. There is the original version there, 5 points, or there's the 2-point version. They do exactly the same thing. It's an action, discard, target all friendly Ferengi ships. They all get to do a green maneuver. However, if you use the action on it, you must discard Brunt as well, because he only gets 1 shot at being the Grand Nagus. Now, he's by no means brilliant. There are worse Ferengi captains, Captain Quark, for example, but he is, I mean, it's a nice action. It means the enemy has to reroll an attack dice. And if you make them reroll one of their attack dice, they naturally roll a crit. You make them reroll that into a blank. It's already been rerolled. They cannot, with their own abilities, reroll that dice again. They can modify it, so if they've got a blank to hit conversion, they can do that. But if someone rolls, basically it's for that when they roll a natural crit, you can make them roll out of a nat crit. Because the chance of them rolling a crit twice in a row on one dice is 1/8 and 1/8. So, you know, it's quite a small chance. And it's basically a way of just saving yourself that little bit. So, by no means brilliant, but there is definite use for it. 4 skill for 3 points is steep. Probably looking at maybe a 2 point for that. But the fact that he does get the ability to field the Grand Nagus talent, even though he doesn't have a talent slot for it, and that now the Grand Nagus upgrade is only 2 points rather than 5 points. I mean, it's a 5-point combo that allows you to keep yourself alive for a bit longer and once give everybody a bonus that. And you can always have a crew upgrade or an Admiral that will take over. You could do Admiral Gint, for example, that when Brunt dies, Gint takes over as the captain. You know, there's no reason why you have to leave yourself at 0 captain skill when you use Brunt's Grand Nagus ability. While we're talking about Brunt, I am going to put up, as I mentioned earlier, this is Mirror Brunt. Now, the Mirror Universe Brunt is a really nice and quite happy fellow. He's a 1-point crew upgrade for the Mirror Universe that just discards to give an Orc's Power token at the start of the end phase to an enemy ship. He's really, really cool. I see him used an absolute ton. He's got a lot of potential. Start of the combat phase, start of the end phase, you just go blip. Which means that ship then has to factor in that Orc's Power token when they're doing the maneuvers next round. It basically means that unless they've got some way to ignore it, NX-01, original series, you know, engineer, anything like that, realistically what you're doing is you're locking them into doing a green maneuver next round if they want to be able to act. It's 1 point, what do you want? It's a really nice ability. Now, the final Jeffrey Combs is Commander Thylek Shran of the Andorian Imperial Guard. So, Shran's ability. Now, 6 skill, 4 points, talent slot. He's the NX era. Whenever you perform an evade or a scan action, you may target a friendly ship at range 1, and you may give them a token of the same type, but you put an Orc's Power token beside your ship. Now, it means you can go, I'll go action evade and give you an evade. Nice, but I get an Orc's Power token. I've put him on this ship because this is actually his ship. This is the Andorian battlecruiser Kumari. You may perform evades and scans while you have Orc's Power tokens beside your ship. So if you've got a way to perform scans or evades as free actions, you can perform both of them, even with Orc's Power tokens, and you can hand out them to Shran. Now, because Shran is a you may target, you can't do it twice. You can't do an evade and a scan. You can do one of those in a turn. But because you don't have to worry about the Orc's Power token to be able to perform those actions, he doesn't actually stop himself from being able to perform it next round. So you can keep moving at white maneuvers and still be able to go action scan and pass the scan on. Now, a few things that work with Shran. Anything that basically, you know, anything that works well with a fleet, because he's a fleet support guy. So, you know, the Kumari allows you to do the actions even with Orc's Power tokens. He hands them off to a friend. You could use the Intrepid here for even more scan evadeness. You could use anything with gives you bonuses for being near friends. Teles Battlecruiser, for example, the other Andorian battlecruiser. However, there is 2 cards I want to particularly highlight. The Andorian Imperial Guard. It may only be equipped to Thylek Shran or an Andorian captain, which is Thylek Shran or Telev. The Andorian Imperial Guard is when you attack with an independent weapon upgrade, you can put 2 time tokens on the Imperial Guard card. And you roll additional attack dice equal to the number of time tokens on the weapon upgrade being used. So, for example, one of the cards it came with in the original pack was Advanced Weaponry. Target lock, 5 dice, 3 time tokens. Range 1 of 3. And you get a chance to choose a weapon malfunction or a munitions failure if you do manage to crit them. That's really nice. However, it's now, you open fire, you put 2 time tokens on the Andorian Imperial Guard, then you add 3 more dice thanks to the time token vest. You're firing 8 dice with this now, from a 3 dice ship originally. Yeah. Now, Shran is not locked to this ship by any means. You can put them on anything you like. Another ship that you could do this with. Yes, I'm doing this. We're going to give Thylex Shran command of an abandoned Nor-class orbital station. And then we're going to go isokinetic cannon. So, same thing applies. You can't perform an evade action because the abandoned space stations can't have evade tokens, but you can perform a scan action and hand it off. And your range 1 from an abandoned space station is huge. Andorian Imperial Guard, 2 time tokens. You get attack that's equal to the tokens on the weapon. It starts off at 6. You're getting +4. Now, of course, rule of 3 does cap you to 9, but if someone's running a -1, you're still getting that full +3. So, Shran and the Andorian Imperial Guard is a brilliant combination. Shran is probably my favourite Jeffrey Combs character in the game. There is an awful lot of stuff you can do just from him bringing the Andorian Imperial Guard, even without him using his, free action stuff. You could do that on the original series Enterprise, because you can perform your action bar actions even under Orc's power tokens, and still get this bonus to hand off to other friendly ships. You could do it on a ship which doesn't require something else, so you could do a scan action, pass it off to a friend when you're on the Enterprise E, and you can still fire your torpedoes because you can take them without requiring a target lock. There's lots of stuff you can do with Shran. The Andorian Imperial Guard works only with independent weapon upgrades, but because Xindi, Ferengi, Kazon, and then obviously the Yellow Dot Independent are all independent faction, any of them that use time tokens can be used to trigger the AIG. ISO cannon works. Particle beam cannon. It's 2 time tokens for 4 dice. Now you're firing 2 time tokens for 6 dice. And on a Andorian battlecruiser, it's a 180 firing arc. You haven't got a rear arc, but also it comes with a come about maneuver, which is rare on a 180 arc. I'm not going to go too much into detail about the Kumari. I'm going to do a whole video about that later because it's one of my favourite ships. This is about Shran. So, other things that work with Shran, anything that gives you the ability to either, ignore Orc's power tokens, remove Orc's power tokens, or perform them as free actions. So, we can go Tal Celes. As a free action, perform the scan action as a free action. So you could, on the Enterprise, do Tal Celes, do free scan action, use Shran to pass off the token to somebody else, and then you've still got your actual action to do action battle stations for your firing. Or you could do her, even on the Kumari, you could do free action scan, pass it off to a friend, and then still be able to do action evade, even with Orc's power token because of the named ability. So anything that grants you free scan or evade actions is useful with Shran, especially if he's going to be on the Kumari itself, because you can keep doing them without having to remove the Orc's power tokens. Now, while you're not going to get an awful lot of quality with that, I'm going to go back again. Kumari, we go Shran, we go Andorian Imperial Guard, we go Tal Celes. Gives you the free scan action. Then you can go free scan and action evade. And you can send one of those to a friend at range 1. If you can get another crew slot on here, bring Spock. Because then your scan token you've got from Shran can be used for battle station conversions when you fire your big powerful weapon with the AIG. So, strange that Shran works quite well with Vulcans, given how much he hates them in the Enterprise. But yes, that there is a highlight of the Jeffrey Combs characters of Star Trek. There are many more. There is Penk, who runs a Tsunkatsu ring in Voyager. There is Tyrion, who is a rather slimy character who wants a holodeck program of Colonel Kira. And there's also a couple of Ferengi which he portrays during Enterprise, alongside another group of actors who will be a group of Ferengi who try and infiltrate the Enterprise in NX. So there's many of them in the game. There's said 3 Wayoons, 2 Brunts, and Shran. They all have different abilities, as you'd expect, because they're all different people. Even the Wayoons, even though they're the same base personality, being they're all clones of each other, they've all got very different ways of being used. I would say Shran is probably my favourite, more because I like the character, but also the ability is really nice, especially when he's combined with the AIG. Crew Protection Wayoon is an absolute staple and has been since he was brought out. The ability to stop a crew being discarded is just amazing, especially only for a disable captain. And the bonus crew slots from the other Wayoon with the talent slot is also brilliant because he just makes his own points. He makes up points that he was spending on himself. So, I hope this answers the watcher's question, and also gives them some insight as to ways you can use Jeffrey Combs' characters in Star Trek. Until then, thank you very much for listening to me waffle on about a series of not really associated characters. If you have any requests or suggestions for preferably characters, but actors that have portrayed a particular character that you want to see, then again, drop them in the comments and I will get around to them when I do the rest of my videos. I'm going to be continuing on with any more of these. I'm also continuing on with my Heroes of the Federation hero ship builds. And I'll be going back to other Federation and other faction ships and just building out a particular ship of the day and just talking about a particular idea. I will also be starting to talk about card combinations. Particular cards that have been highlighted throughout my playing of the tournament and the Fremont Reformation. Cards that are seen as overpowered or underpowered or meta-defining or game-breaking. Some of the ones in a little short list will be Refractive Shielding, Dala, Enhanced Hull Plating, and then a few others as well. So watch out for those. If you have any requests for particular cards that you think are broken or could be broken or should be broken but aren't, drop them in the comments and I'll get to them. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining me and we'll see you next time.